What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. I am very excited for today, and I'm not sure if everything is going to happen in today's video or not, but long story short, we are making Bobby's STI. This car right here, it already is fast. You guys are probably wondering, like, isn't it fast enough? It is fast enough, but we have a motor in this car that is good for much more power than this thing currently makes. And to be completely honest, we have a 5858 from Precision on the car right now. It is fully maxed out, and of course a turbo fully maxed out all the time. They don't last that long, so we keep going through turbos on this thing, and I decided I'm gonna make it faster. I think last time on the dyno it made around 600 wheel, and we are going from the 5858 to a 6466. We are doing cams, and we're doing some other goodies as well. I am gonna pull the motor just because it is a lot easier to work on these things when the motor's out, especially doing cams. Let me pop the hood real quick and show you guys why. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know this, but of course a Subaru is a boxer engine. The cams are right under that valve cover right there, and that's the frame rail. To do cams in the car, very difficult. There's a couple other little things that we're gonna do at the same time. I guess not really little, kind of big things that we're doing at the same time. But here is the kicker. Bobby, who's my girlfriend, who owns this car, does not know we are doing this. She has no idea, as far as I know, unless somebody told her, that we are gonna go from like 600 wheel to 800 wheel. And yeah, this should be quite entertaining and quite fun. So let's get this party started and start yanking this motor out of the car. All right, guys, it's a few days later and we are ready to get back to work on this engine. I'm gonna go ahead and pull off the intake manifold, and then we can get the cams out of here. We are currently running OEM cams. We already do have upgraded valve springs and retainers. And then if you're wondering about the short block build, out front closed deck block, manly rods, some UEM pistons. So like I said, it's plenty capable of handling a whole lot more power than we're currently making. Let's go ahead and pop off the intake manifold because it's got to come off anyway for the new setup. And then valve covers come off, cams come out, and we can get our new BC280s installed. While the engine is out of the car, I decided I'm gonna go ahead and get it cleaned up as best as possible. I did already degrease the entire engine bay, but now that the intake manifold's off, we can get the engine block itself and the heads and everything cleaned up, so it's nice and brand new looking again. If you're gonna do this, make sure you plug everything off. We got our company 23 intake plates installed. Make sure no water gets down in there. now that we have the engine looking brand new again, we can finally go ahead and move forward with the build. So I'm gonna pull off the crank pulley, pull off the timing covers, the timing belt has to come off, and then the valve covers come out. And last but not least, the factory cams that are holding us back are coming out. I'm really starting to question whether or not buying the higher end blue, the Gates racing belt is worth it. That belt probably had maybe 2,000 miles on it max. As you can see, all the blue wore off and it's all over just all the timing components. So it's all over the pulleys and the timing covers. It's everywhere. So now it's just a factory black belt. I don't know if they're any better. Now I briefly mentioned it earlier, but we are installing some cams from BC. Very, very excited for these things. We ran some 272s back in the Hyperblue Evo 8 days and had nothing but a good experience with the BC cams. This time we're going a little bit bigger, 280s. We got a little spec sheet here. So this part number is BC0622. If you want to pick up the same exact cam for your dual AVCS STI. So duration 280 degrees, actual cam lift, intake 10.8 millimeters, exhaust 10.8 millimeters, rocker arm ratio 1:1, center line 110 degrees on intake, 118 on exhaust, 114 degrees of lobe separation. If you really want to study, here we have it. So BC does offer 3 variations of these cams. These are the stage 3s. So they have a stage 1, which is like a track strip spec. And I guess when you're gonna build your car, you kind of want to build it around like everything to work together, being that we're going to a much, much larger turbo, which you guys will see here in a second, and to a different intake manifold. That's why we went with the 280s. But they have the stage 1, which is a 272. That's what we ran in the Hyperblue 8. And then they have a 276, which is stage 2. And then these guys here, which are the 280s, which is the stage 3. So compared to the stock cam is a 256. And instead of 10.8 millimeters of lift, the stock cam is a 9.6 millimeter intake and 9.78 on exhaust. So as you can see, these things are quite a bit more aggressive than the factory camshaft. I do want to give a huge, huge thank you and show some appreciation to the guys at BC for being willing to send these out to us. Very excited to get this car on the dyno. Of course, the new cams and the new setup is going to make a whole lot more power and be a lot more fun. And hopefully next time we go to the drag strip, I can actually grab some gears and hopefully make a 9-second pass. That is the goal with this car. Sorry, Bobby, if you're watching. I want to go fast. So here we have the first cam. This is going to be the intake cam for the driver's side of the car. Now they do include these 4 little screws in this baggie down here. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to confirm, but I'm 99.999% sure, that is if we're going to be deleting AVCS, we'd throw those into the back or into the front side of the cam there. But we are going to be running the factory dual AVCS on this setup, so no need for those. We're going to go ahead and set the cam into the head. Don't be alarmed. I know I'm not using assembly lube right now. All we're going to do right now is make sure our valve clearances are in spec. So I'm going to put the intake and exhaust in, get the cam caps on, get it torqued down, and we need to go ahead and double check that we are within the proper valve clearance. Hi, expert.
Hello.
What'd you say you want my valve clearances to be?
8 and 10, preferably no less than 6 and 8.
8 being intake, 10 exhaust.
Yes.
Got it. Well, boys, the valve clearance is perfectly in spec as to what Mr. Tuner, Josh Bader, wants. So let's go ahead and pull the cams back out. We got to get everything cleaned up, slap some assembly lube down, and then on the back side of this, where this front cap meets the head, that does require a little bit of sealant. So we can go ahead and get the driver's side all finished up and then turn the engine over and knock out the same exact process on the passenger side. All right, we now have a complete long block ready to go back in the car. So let's get her up on the engine hoist, get the ACT clutch on. We're still running the same mod twin that came off this car. She's been treating us well. So go ahead and get this guy mounted back up on the engine, and we're gonna slap her in the car with no intake for now, just because I think it's gonna be a little bit easier to get the new intake with all of the fuel rail plumbing, the harness, all that good stuff. It's gonna be easier to get that clean looking while the engine's in the car, just so we can route everything properly. And we still have the AOS lines to route as well. Subaru bays are hard to make clean. Really got to take your time on it. Let's see what we can do. So this is the third time I've had the motor out. For some reason, I cannot get the splines to line up. And then finally, I just pulled it completely apart, pulled the clutch back off, re-cleaned everything. I'm gonna re-grease everything, and then hopefully it'll go in this time. Sometimes these things slide right in. Most of the time they just go right on in. But for some reason this time, it's just being a pain. Well boys, this time she just went right on in like it should. Slipped right on in there, and we now have an engine back in the STI. Very excited. That is a wrap for episode 1 of secretly building Bobby's STI to hopefully at least 700 wheel on the Mustang dyno. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out, my good friends, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.